like a nice big scab. It's Sanctuary of Reality, my comic review series. Time now for Cerebus issue 224, the 5th chapter of Rick's story. Nursing another head-pounding hangover, Cerebus has an inner discussion concerning Joanne. He thinks about trying to win her back just to punish Rick and then dump her, or marry her, or maybe challenge Rick to a game of 5-bar gate in front of her to humiliate him. Rick then shows up at the bar, walking around like a zombie with a bleeding wound on his temple. Seems Joanne never showed up at the bonfire the night before, and during the bacchanalia of sex and violence, he was injured. Cerebus gives him a pint. He chugs it, but otherwise remains dazed. Cerebus imparts some wisdom about women, especially his attitude, which is how he either takes them or leaves them. Getting worked up over a woman he never even slept with is a waste of time, in his opinion. Suddenly, Joanne enters the bar and screams at the sight of the bleeding Rick. Cerebus goes on the offensive in Rick's stead, arguing with her when she demands some alcohol and a clean cloth to clean his wound. Despite his insistence that scabs are best for healing, and Joanne's refusal to use his bar rag, Cerebus assists somewhat reluctantly. As Joanne cleans his wound, Rick views Joanne as a demon, scraping at his exposed brain. Once he's patched up, Joanne explains to Rick that she didn't show up because her mother had a fever. Cerebus scoffs and argues how if Rick lets her get away with that excuse, she'll use it repeatedly and her entire family will end up ill. Rick gives an innocent, barely coherent query about her mother having a fever. Joanne gets offended and storms off. Cerebus relates about his pal Bear and his girlfriend Ziggy, which leads to Rick viewing Cerebus as a divine being, and the gates of Vanaheim opening before him. Rick does manage to confess, before passing out drunk, that he'd planned on asking Joanne to marry him and to leave Cerebus. How will Cerebus react to the revelation that he interfered with a surefire way to be rid of the guy that he thinks of as a girly boy? We never find out exactly how Rick got that head injury. Obviously, the bonfire was a dangerous place, especially for somebody who's distracted like he was and isn't partaking in the activities. The bonfire, as I referred to its prior time that it came up in the book, back in Guys, is a cross between Burning Man and the Purge. It's a fertility ritual approved by the Sirenists come harvest time. Like before, when it last appeared, and I believe this is the last time we actually see one, that we get to see a little bit of the aftermath following in the area which it took place. There's various totems and body parts strewn around in the field. It's just another quirky aspect of Sirenist society compared to our own, though one could say we're not too far off from that. I actually love this issue, especially Cerebus' dialogue in it. His defense of the bar rag, his love of scabs, his arguments with Joanne. There's just so many great quotes for him in this issue. It's weird to see Cerebus defending someone else. Normally, he only does things like that when there's something in it for him. Of course, in this case, he's only defending Rick simply because he's projecting his own problems with Joanne onto him. But it still settles out as Cerebus looking out for Rick. So it's probably the most heroic he's been in a long time, if you could call it that. Next time, things get biblical.